Today, we'll be discussing the topic Basal metabolic rate or BMR. First, we'll have a look at introduction. Energy is that force or power that enables our body to carry on its life-sustaining activities. When food is metabolized in the body, energy is released. The body requires this energy for all its activities, for all muscular activities, and for the functioning of vital organs like heart, lungs, alimentary canal, nervous tissue, and glandular tissue. Energy is required. The major portion of an individual energy needs are based on requirement to maintain the body's internal work. The energy requirement of a person depends on various factors. The most important factor in assessing the energy requirement is the basal metabolic rate of the person. First, we'll see what is a basal metabolic rate. The term basal metabolism refers to the energy metabolism of a subject at complete physical and mental rest, having normal body temperature and in post-absorption state, that is, 12 hours after the intake of last meal. It is the sum of all internal chemical activities that maintain the body at rest. The basal metabolic rate is a measure of the energy required by these activities of resting tissues, sometimes referred to as resting energy expenditure. It can also be defined as the amount of energy to carry on the involuntary work of the body. Function of brain, heart, liver, kidneys, lungs, secretory activities of the glands, and intestinal movement are basal activities in our body. Now, we'll see the measurement of basal metabolism. Both direct and indirect methods have been used to measure basal metabolic rate. First, we'll see the direct calorimetry method. The direct calorimetric method requires the subject to be in a human calorimeter or respiration chamber to measure the amount of heat evolved. Atwater and Rosa respiration chamber is used to determine the energy expenditure during BMR, that is basal metabolic rate. This equipment consists of an airtight copper chamber insulated by wooden walls with air space in between. A folding bed, chair, and table are provided in the chamber. A man can comfortably stay in the calorimeter for a few days. A small opening is provided at the two ends for passing food and drinks and removing excreta. The chamber is ventilated by a current of air. The carbon dioxide and water given off are removed by soda lime and sulfuric acid, respectively. For oxygen supply, a more amount of oxygen is introduced to the chamber through a gas meter with an air current. The oxygen consumption and carbon dioxide production are circulated using a formula. The heat produced is also measured by circulating a current of water through copper pipes and measuring the quantity of water that has been circulated through the chamber, and also the difference between the temperature of the water entering and leaving the chamber. This method measures the exchange of gases in respiration, that is, respiratory quotient, while the subject is at rest. The respiratory quotient can be measured, which is the ratio of carbon dioxide produced to oxygen consumed. That is, respiratory quotient is equal to volume of carbon dioxide produced divided by volume of oxygen consumed. From the respiratory quotient, we can determine whether carbohydrate, fats, or protein was used for energy. If carbohydrate is the sole source of fuel, the respiratory quotient is 1. Fat has an respiratory quotient of 0.7 and protein respiratory quotient of 0.8. Under basal condition, in which both fatty acid and glucose are being used as energy sources, The respiratory quotient is usually 0.82. Next, we'll see the indirect calorimetry. Indirect calorimetry is based on the fact that the oxygen used and carbon dioxide produced is in proportion to the heat generated. The basal metabolic rate is measured by indirect calorimetry under the following conditions. First, post-absorptive stage, that is 12 to 16 hours after the meal, usually performed in the morning. Second, reclining but awake, that is 1.5 hour rest before the taste is necessary if there has been any activity in the morning. Third, relaxed and free from emotional upsets or fear of the taste itself. Fourth is the normal body temperature, and lastly, comfortable room temperature and humidity of about 21 degrees Celsius to 24 degrees Celsius. Basal metabolism is usually determined using the apparatus of Benedict and Roth. The apparatus is a closed-circuit system in which the subject breathes in oxygen from a metal cylinder of about 6-liter capacity, and carbon dioxide produced is absorbed by soda lamp present in the tower. The oxygen cylinder floats on water present in an outer tank. The subject wears a nose clip and breathes through a mouthpiece. The oxygen present in the cylinder for a period of 6 minutes. The volume of oxygen used is recorded in a graph paper attached to the revolving drum by a pen attached to it. Since the subject is in post-absorptive state, respiratory quotient is assumed to be 0.82 and the calorific value of 1 liter of oxygen consumed is taken as 4.8 kilocalories. Let's have a look at the example. When the subject is an adult male with a body weight of 50 kg, oxygen consumed in 6 minutes is equal to 1100 milliliter. So, heat produced in 6 minutes is equal to 1100 into 4.8, which is equal to 5.28 kilocalories. Therefore, heat produced in 24 hours is equal to 1248. Therefore, the basal metabolism of the individual for 24 hours is 1248 kilocalorie. Next, we'll see the determination of basal metabolic rates by calculation. Basal metabolic rate can be calculated not only by direct and indirect calorimetry but also by using the following formula. First is using the body weight. With the formula, for female, body weight in kilogram multiplied by 0.9 kilocalories into 24 hours. For male, body weight in kilogram multiplied by 1 kilocalorie into 24 hours. Number 2, Harris-Benedict equation. The equation for female is 655.5 plus 9.56 into W plus 1.85 into H minus 4.68 into A. And the formula for male is 66.5 plus 13.75 into W plus 5 into H minus 6.75 into A, where W is weight in kilogram, height in centimeter is the H, and A is age in years. Third, metabolic body size. Using metabolic body size, the formula is 70 into weight in kilogram to the power 3 by 4. Using the formula given by Food and Agriculture Organization, World Health Organization, and the United Nations University equations. For female, 8.7 into W plus 829. For male, 11.6 into W plus 879, where W is the weight in kilograms. Lastly, the BMR for Indians can be prepared using the table equation proposed by the Indian Council of Medical Research for predicting the BMR from body weight in kilogram. The equation for predicting basal metabolic rate in kilocalorie per 24 hour from body weight in kilogram is for male between 18 to 30 years of age. The equation is 14.5 multiplied by weight in kilogram plus 645. And for male between 30 to 60 years of age, the equation is 10.9 into weight in kilogram plus 833. And for male age greater than 60, the equation is 12.8 multiplied by weight in kilogram plus 463. And for female between 18 to 30 years of age, the equation is 14 multiplied by weight in kilogram plus 471. For age between 30 to 60, the equation is 8.3 multiplied by weight in kilogram plus 788. And for age greater than 60, the equation is 10 into weight in kilogram plus 565. For example, to calculate the basal metabolic rate of an Indian male aged 45 years with 60 kg, the following formula is used from the table. That is, BMR is equal to 10.9 into body weight in kilogram plus 833, which is equal to 10.9 into 60 plus 833, which is equal to 1487 kilocalories. Now, we'll see the standard for basal metabolism. Studies carried out by various workers have shown that basal metabolism is most closely related to the body surface area and less directly related to either the weight or height of the individual. The body surface area can be calculated according to the formula of Du Bois and Du Bois, which is A equal to W to the power 0.425 multiplied by H to the power 0.725 into 71.84, where A is body surface area in square centimeter, H is height in centimeter, and W is weight in kilogram. Now, let's see the factor affecting basal metabolic rate. A number of factors influence the basal metabolic rate and should be considered when interpreting test results. First, body size. Since the heat loss in body is proportional to the skin surface, a tall and thin person has greater surface and thus higher basal metabolic rate compared to the short person. The body composition shows variation in energy use. With little fat deposition in the body, the basal metabolic rate increases and thus a tall, thin person has higher rate of basal metabolism compared to short, fit man. Next, age. The basal metabolic rate is higher in infants and young children than in adults. Next is the sex. Females have 5% lower basal metabolic rate than males. Women characteristically develop more adipose tissues and less musculature than men. Next is the body composition. The basal metabolic rate is directly related to the lean body mass. Person with well-developed muscles will have a higher basal metabolic rate than obese person whose higher body weight is due to adipose tissue. All body tissues are metabolically active, constantly being broken down and repaired and participating in vital functions. Muscles, brain, gland, and liver are active metabolically, while bone adipose tissues are relatively inactive. Next is the growth. During growth periods, the growth hormone stimulates the cell metabolism and raises BMR, that is basal metabolic rate, by 15 to 20%. Thus, the basal metabolic rate slowly rises during the first 5 years of life, rises again just before and during puberty, and then decline into old age. During pregnancy, the basal metabolic rate rises 20 to 25%, and during lactation period, the basal metabolic rate increased to about 60%. Next is the climate. In persons living in tropical climate, the basal metabolic rate is about 10% lesser than those living in temperate zones. Fever and disease. Fever increased the basal metabolic rate. For every 1 degree Fahrenheit rise in body temperature, the basal metabolic rate increased by about 7%. Also, diseases involving increased cell activity such as cancer, certain anemias, cardiac failure, hypertension, and respiratory problems usually increase the basal metabolic rate. Sleep. The basal metabolic rate in sleep is about 5% less due to musculature and emotional relaxation. Next is the nutritional status. During undernutrition, the basal metabolic rate may fall to at least 20 to 30% below normal. This reflects the body's adaptive efforts to conserve energy when there is deficiency. Next is the physical activities. If an individual takes physical exercise about half an hour before the determination of basal metabolic rate, appreciable increase in the basal metabolic rate is observed. Thyroid. Hypothyroidism decreases basal metabolic rate up to 30%, and hyperthyroidism may increase basal metabolic rate up to 100% on the severity of the condition. Next is the specific dynamic action of food. Food has stimulating effect on basal metabolic rate. The basal metabolic rate of a person increases by about 8% when food is ingested. Smoking. Research indicates that habitual smokers, when they stop smoking, have a tendency to gain weight. This may be caused by the fact that the nicotine increases basal metabolic rate by 10%. And lastly, the psychological state. Psychological state may affect energy expenditure, as acute anxiety is a potent stimulant of epinephrine secretion, and this increases energy expenditure. Now we'll see the conclusion. We can conclude that the basal metabolic rate reflects the amount of energy required to maintain the body at rest. It is the minimum energy required to sustain vital functions like working of heart, brain, circulation, respiration, ion transport, and maintenance of cellular integrity. Direct and indirect calorimetry is used to determine basal metabolic rate of an individual. Certain conditions are required in measuring basal metabolic rate, which includes the post-absorptive stage, reclining position, relaxed and free from emotional upset, normal body temperature and comfortable room, temperature and humidity of about 21 to 24 degrees Celsius. Various factors like the body size and composition, sex, age, growth, climate, fever and disease, nutritional status, sleep, physical activities, hormones, specific dynamic action of food, psychological status influence the basal metabolic rate of an individual. The best indicator of basal metabolic rate is body composition, especially lean body weight.